Shalom, my friends. Welcome to this week's word study, the Netchatef update. Personally, I've always maintained that if the rapture is to happen on a particular moed, it will happen on Yom Teruah, also known as the Feast of Trumpets or Rosh Hashanah. And, I've given my reasons for that, and like others who give reasons for it happening on other feast days, I give excellent analogies and believable arguments for my stance, but nothing really that can truly be called concrete. And I have, an encouragement and an admonishment for you today about these things. Chuck Missler is a man whom I have great respect and admiration for. Chuck believes that if the Netchatef, the Rapture, is to happen on a particular moed, feast day, it will happen on Pentecost, also known as Shavuot, or the Feast of Weeks. Now, Chuck believes that because of Enoch, whose name is truly Chanoch. Chanoch was born on Shavuot, Pentecost, and it's believed that he was taken up. Netchatef. Netchatef means kidnapped or raptured on Shavuot, Pentecost. Now, therefore, since Chanoch is a model of the called out ones who were also born on Shavuot, you can look at Acts chapter 2, then it follows that the called out ones will be taken up on Pentecost. It's an excellent analogy and a believable argument for Shavuot. But again, it's nothing that can truly be called concrete. Why? Well, mostly because there is nothing concrete to be found in the Word that can tell anyone exactly when the Netchatef, the Rapture, will happen. And quite obviously, that's just the way Abba, Father, Yahweh wants it. There's something about the Netchatef that Abba, Father, is very strongly hiding from Hashatan, Satan. And, we all want to go home. I mean, I understand that. Nobody wants to go home any more than I do. I can't wait, Eternity with no darkness and nothing but joy and good food and loved ones and so on. But this is something unique to the Father in terms of when. The singular problem I have with this idea of the Netchatef happening on any particular moed, feast day, is that it causes believers to get all caught up in the flesh about him coming. And lately, the Ruach has been giving me a constant nudging, reminding me that there are scriptural attitudes expressed about the Netchatef, telling us that we are to be eagerly awaiting, confidently expecting, and maintaining an alertness and caution about it happening. And those are all attributes which express hope and an attitude of expectancy. Now, this thing about, it's going to happen this Yom Teruah. Oh, Yom Teruah came and went. Oh, it didn't happen. right then, a door closes that I've seen in everyone's hearts. Oh, okay, stop expecting it until next year. Or they go on other rants about, oh, it's going to be next week. Oh, it's going to be next month. They made a mistake with the calendars, yada, yada, yada. And then when that passes, their expectancy shuts down. This is not good for us. Now, these attributes I mentioned, as I said, I've not been seeing them operating in those who have posted comments beneath my videos after Yom Teruah came and went. Posts like, oh, the calendars are off, it's in October, not September. Or it's not Yom Teruah after all, it's the Feast of Tabernacles. That makes me think of Acts chapter 1 verse 7, which reads, it is not for you to know the times or seasons which the Father has put in His own power. Other posts like, some are saying that because the tribulation did not begin this Yom Teruah, we now have to wait 7 more years before the rapture and tribulation to happen. Is this accurate? And, I say, does that way of thinking sound like something that causes anyone to be full of expectation or to maintain alert caution? No. Another post, if the Jewish calendar is accurate, why isn't it the year 6000? Jewish calendars say it's 5775. This is one of the reasons I have a tendency to ignore the calendars, because there's so many different versions and they all argue with each other. And, don't hold me to it, but I'm pretty sure TorahCalendar.com says that 2015 has now begun the year 6000. I know there's one out there, I'm pretty sure it's TorahCalendar.com, that says 2015 is the year 6000. All the other ones say 5775 or whatever. Obviously, nobody's really sure. So, why put stock in anything like that? I put all my stock in the Word. That is something I'm sure of, and that only because I know how to go back to the original Aramaic Hebrew that the Father gave, inspired through His prophets. And I can see what the Father wrote down originally. That is solid and true. So I stay with the Word. And then other things, if so many things we don't really know, well, if we can't be absolutely sure about something, let it go. The Father, doesn't want us to be so sure about things, and I'll make some points about that too. At any rate, my point is all this stuff about trying to own it, that's what goes on. It's like, the rapture's going to happen on Yom Teruah. That's coming up in 2 weeks. We're going home. He gets up in the flesh. People want to own it. They want it to be, like, this is mine, and you can't take it away. In fact, people try to own a lot of things about the Word, like, the post-tribbers versus the pre-tribbers. I believe in the pre-tribulation, Netchatef, kidnapping, rapture. You talk to someone who they haven't really studied the Word, and they find somebody who's teaching something, and oh geez, looks like he really knows a lot. He says the rapture's at the end of the tribulation. I believe in that. And then they get, they want to own it. It's mine. I believe in the post-tribulation rapture. And then if somebody says, no, that's not accurate, they get all angry, don't they? Oh, man. And that's a real sign of someone who's operating not in the Ruach, but completely in the flesh. They get violent, argumentative. But really, why? Because they want to own what belongs to Elohim. They want it to be theirs. They can't have faith. They have to own it. They can't walk in some unsureties, trusting in Elohim alone. And there's, I think, a strong aspect about the Kodeshim. There are things that we do not know for sure, and we're okay with that because we have a relationship with Elohim, and our trust is in Him, not in the things that we know, wrote down, and have ownership over. The stuff about trying to own it does not serve Yeshua's command that we are to put our trust in Abba, Father, Yahweh. Not in calendars, not in dates. It's not the knowing He wants us to embrace. It's the trusting in Him that He wants to see operating in our hearts. So, if you're getting caught up in these dates, oh, when's it going to happen? It didn't happen this year. Well, maybe it'll be next month. Oh, maybe it'll be next year. Oh, gee whiz, we got to wait 7 years. That means, just like forget about it. I'll check back in 7 years. That's what Satan wants. Do not allow yourself to fall into that attitude. That's what today's study is all about, my friends. The proper attitudes revealed in His Word are attitudes expressed by those who are focused on living their everyday lives combined every day with an alert expectancy and hope of His coming. Like I said before, Yom Teruah, to me, Abba Father, these so-called feast days are Abba Father's Kodesh appointments with mankind. He's got 7 of them. And if He has appointments, we know He does. 4 of them, the spring Moedim, have all been fulfilled right on target. So I look at that and I say, okay, if He has a Kodesh appointment for the Netchatef, to me it looks like Yom Teruah. Chuck Missler makes a good point about Shavuot, Pentecost. Other people make good points about other ones. My attitude is, great, let's just study that and look into it, and that may be so. We'll find out when it happens. We don't have to own it. We don't have to make it, mine. You let it go. Wait and see. That's having trust in Elohim. In the book of John, Yochanan, chapter 13, verses 31 through 38, we see Yeshua telling His Talmidim, His disciples, that it was time for Him to leave, and that they wouldn't be able to follow presently, but that they would be able to do so at a later date. Now, they got concerned. They didn't really know what He was talking about. And they get upset. Well, He continues in chapter 14, verses 1 through 3, saying, verse 1, "Let not your heart be troubled. Don't let yourself be afraid. Don't become cowardly. Believe confidently in Yahweh. Trust in the Father. Continue to be washed by and growing in the Word, faith. Hold on to it, the Word. Rely on it, the Word. Keep going and believe also in me," Yeshua says. Then He goes on in verse 2, "In my Father's house there are many dwelling places." Boy, I can't wait to see that. If it were not so, I would have told you, because I'm going there to prepare a place for you. And, verse 3, if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back again, and I will take you to myself. He doesn't take anybody anywhere at the second coming. He's talking about the Netchatef, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, so that where I am, you may be also. Verse 4, he says, and where I go, you know, and the way you know. Now, I think some of them at that point were thinking like geographically, oh, let's, got a GPS? We know the way? Would we take a left by the red barn? What? No. He says, you know the way. The way is Yeshua. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. The way to Abba Father's house is through Yeshua. It's not a physical road map, it's a spiritual road map. Well, then in verse 5, Thomas asks, how are we able to know the way? See, he's thinking, GPS. And in verse 6, Yeshua explains that there's only one way to the Father, and that way is through Yeshua. He is the way. He is the narrow path, tzad, which very few are able to find. You get caught up in the flesh about when the Netchatef is going to happen. You're going to get off the path. You're going to get distracted. You're going to lose your way. The way is in trusting Elohim, Abba Father, Yeshua, the indwelling Ruach HaKodesh. Notice that in chapter 16, verse 2 of John, Yochanan, Yeshua points out that they shall put you out of the congregations. Knew everything. And in verse 3, he explains that they do so because they do not know Abba Father Yahweh, and also because they do not know Yeshua. How many of you have been talking about how pastors and church members don't want you around them? How many of you have talked about, leaving some church you were at, and why? It's because they don't know Abba Father Yahweh, and they don't know Yeshua, and they don't want you there, and or you don't want to be there. That's really cool, because you're, discerning the spirits. Now back to Yeshua talking about his leaving in chapter 16, verse 7 of John. He says, if I do not go away, the Ruach shall not come to you. Now, it's not explained why that is so, but isn't it interesting that at the Netchatef, the reverse happens. The Ruach has to leave the earth before Yeshua can return. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 7, we read, for the mystery of lawlessness, meaning rebellion against divine authority, is already at work. But it's restrained only until he who now restrains it is taken out of the way. That word taken in the Greek is genomahi. The Ruach is genomahi, off the earth, taken off the earth. That is, to go to a wedding, the Netchatef, the marriage of Yeshua and his bride. Now let's look at the model of a Jewish wedding. And, let's not forget, recently I did, the video on Hanukkah, and somebody said, isn't that a Jewish holiday? So, let's not forget, our Mashiach is a Jew. Abba Father Yahweh is Jewish. He has a Jewish heart of hearts. He created his own nation. And what emerged? Jewishness. So, no, Hanukkah is not a Jewish holiday. Hanukkah is a holiday that we can celebrate that brings esteem to Elohim, as opposed to Christmas, which brings esteem to Satan, really. Anyway, that's not today's study. The Jewish wedding. These are the, the ancient format for the Jewish wedding, which is a model of Yeshua coming to get his bride, and, all that transpires up to the wedding. First, we have the ketubah. That's a betrothal. Payment of the purchase price. The bride is sanctified, kadosh. That is, the bride is made kodesh, dedicated to him and him alone. This covenant between Yeshua and his bride is established. We can see 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 25. The purchase price, look at 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 19 and 20. The bride is kadosh, made kodesh. Look at Ephesians chapter 5, verses 25, 26, and 27. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 2, chapter 6, verse 11, Hebrews chapter 10, verse 10, and chapter 13, verse 12. The ketubah was established 2,000 years ago. Next, the groom goes away to his father's house to prepare a dwelling place for his bride, while she prepares for his return, which is imminent. I'm going to discuss that word in a bit. She doesn't know when he's coming back. He could come back any day. She's preparing for him, and she has to be ready for him to show up at any time. She doesn't know when. Nobody does. How long he's to be gone is absolutely unknown, except by the groom's father. The father watches him while he prepares this place for his bride. And only when the father determines that it is complete and ready and says, okay, go get her, son, only then does anyone know that it's time. Yeshua's been working on designing and building dwelling places for his Kodeshim for 2,000 years. I can't wait to see. No, we can't imagine what he's done. Next, there is a surprise gathering, usually at midnight, preceded by a shout as he comes with his pals. This is exampled in the parable of the 10 virgins, and we see him and his pals in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 16 and 17. Notice that this is a surprise gathering, not some predetermined, prearranged date. The bride never knows when to expect him. Rumors come shortly before he's going to show up. There's some rumors and so on. We've been seeing our rumors, look at my newscasts on Tuesday. Those are all rumors that he's coming, and so on. But we see the idea of the resurrection, the Netchatef, the rapture, this idea of being transformed into a glorified body of flesh and bone throughout the entirety of the Word. And in the oldest book of them all, we see Job, talking about it. In Job, that's actually Eov, chapter 19, verses 25, 26, and 27, we read, verse 25, Job says, "For I know that my Redeemer and Vindicator lives, and to the end he will stand over the earth." Verse 26, "Even after my mortal skin is destroyed by death, then in my flesh I will see Eloah." Verse 27, "Whom I, even I, will see for myself, and my eyes will see him, and not a stranger." In the HalleluYah Scriptures, you see, "My kidneys have failed within me." People always goes like, what does that mean, kidneys? Back then in the ancient times, in the Jewish way of thinking, they didn't say, gee, I got a gut feeling, or it's like something in my heart. It was the kidneys. And Job says, "My kidneys have failed within me." What he's saying is, I am completely, utterly amazed. Why? Because no mortal has ever seen Abba Father Yahweh. Exodus 33:20, "No man may see Yahweh and live." Back to the wedding process, the next thing is the huppah, the wedding. The groom and his bride consummate the marriage. Then there is the 7-day wedding feast. That would be what's happening in the Shamayim during the 7-year trib. Interestingly enough, there are 7 Netchatefs, raptures, in the Word. We see Hanoch, that's Enoch, Genesis chapter 5, verse 42, also mentioned in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 5. Then there's Elijah, 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 1 and verse 11. Yeshua, of course, Mark 16:19, Acts 1, 9 through 11, and Revelation 12:5. You have Philip, Acts chapter 8, verse 39. Shaul, it's Paul, 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 2, 3, and 4. The Kodeshim, 1 Thessalonians 4:17. And John, Yochanan, Revelation 4:1. Note that all those scriptural attitudes that should be apparent in those who long for his coming, that is, eagerly awaiting, confidently expecting, and maintaining an alertness and a caution about it, all these point at the idea of his coming being imminent. I mean, do you feel an expectation of his coming every day, right now? If you expected, maybe this Yom Teruah was going to be the Netchatef, it came in and went. Once it was gone, did you have the same expectation in your heart that you had the day before or the day of Yom Teruah? If not, what you're experiencing is extremely detrimental to your spiritual walk, to your finding the narrow path and staying on it. We have to think of his coming as being imminent. That's the attitude of the bride. She doesn't know when he's coming. Could be any day, and she has to be ready every day. Now, imminent, I-M-M-I-N-E-N-T, imminent means the next expectation or the next event. It could be at any time. 2 minutes, an hour from now, tomorrow. You don't know. every day. You're expecting him. Now, it's not immanent, I-M-M-A-N-E-N-T. Immanent is, Elohim is immanent, transcendent, always with us and active on our behalf. And it's not eminent, E-M-I-N-E-N-T, which is a title of honor for those of outstanding distinction. Oh, he's an eminent man. No, this is imminent. The Word tells us that we are to always expect Yeshua to come at any moment, that his appearing is something which is imminent. And this instruction is for our benefit. Having an attitude of expecting him to come at any moment keeps us in a healthy and a proper state of mind about his coming. It also displays those who long for his coming and get those crowns because of it. This other attitude, Yom Teruah came and went, he didn't come, he's not coming, might not be for another 7 years, tends to, it could be on Yom Teruah, but this attitude that it has to be, and then when it isn't, what happens to your spirit, to your ruach, is sickening. And we don't want that. So it's best that, Yom Teruah comes around. Wow, this could be it. You get excited, yeah. But if it doesn't, okay, I don't know anything. Maybe he's coming the day after. We don't know anything. You keep every day. Philippians chapter 3, verse 20. Second part, we eagerly await the coming of our Savior, our Adon Yeshua HaMashiach. That's Titus chapter 2, verse 13, talks about us confidently expecting the fulfillment of our Baruch, our blessed hope, every day. Hebrews chapter 9, verse 28, second part. Yeshua returns to the earth to bring salvation to those who are eagerly and confidently waiting for him. That does not include those who, they thought it was going to be Yom Teruah. It wasn't. And now for the next 12 months, they're not eagerly and confidently waiting for him because they think, hey, he's not coming for another year. We don't want to adopt that attitude, my friends. 1 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 10 tells us to look forward and to confidently wait for the coming of Yahweh's Bane from the Shamayim, who personally rescues us from the coming wrath, rescues us from the tribulation. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 6 tells us, let us not sleep in spiritual indifference. Isn't that what happens? Like, if you think it's Yom Teruah or some other particular date comes and goes, don't you shift into a sleep of spiritual indifference? Let us not do that. We're commanded in 1 Thessalonians 5:6, as the rest of the world does, spiritual indifference. But let us keep wide awake, alert, and cautious, and let us be sober, self-controlled. You can't have that without the filling of the Ruach and the fullness of the fruit of the Ruach. Let us remain calm and wise. How can we be wise? By partaking of the Word. Luke chapter 19, verse 13 tells us, occupy. Yeshua tells us, occupy until I come. Be busy about his work until he comes. These things are not expressed by those who expect him on a particular date and then get all upset when he doesn't show. That's the 5 foolish versions. They go out, to do whatever, get more oil, and while they're gone, he comes. They stop expecting him long enough not to be there. They are no longer eagerly awaiting his coming. They are no longer confidently expecting him. And they've stopped maintaining an alertness and caution about his coming. Not a good thing to let ourselves fall into. Matthew, chapter 24, verse 42. Be alert. Give strict attention to. Be cautious and active in faith. What's faith? He's telling us to be cautious and active in being washed by and growing in his word. For you do not know which day, whether near or far, your Adon is coming. You know, those who say, oh, if it didn't happen this Yom Teruah, it's not going to be for another 7 years. That's not what the word says. The word says you don't know which day, whether near or far, he's coming. Now, here are the two scriptures that really nail today's study down. Here is the key to today's message, and that is Matthew. That's Matthew chapter 24, verse 44. Yeshua says, you who follow me must also be ready every single day. Because the bane of Adam is coming, here it is, at an hour when you do not expect him. You know, he tells us to always be expecting him every moment of every day. And even if we are doing that, he's still going to come at an hour that we do not expect him. He said it. It's going to be true. Repeated in Lucas chapter 12, verse 40, he says, be continually ready, non-stop readiness. Why? Because the bane of Adam is coming at an hour that you do not expect. So if you expected him to come this coming Yom Teruah, no, it won't happen. He said he's coming at an hour that we do not expect. So I don't care when it is, if we expect it to be or if we expect it might be, any particular date or time, we're going to be wrong every time, because he said, I want you to be in a state of constant and continual expectation, because, Yeshua says, the hour that I come will be an hour that you did not expect. One thing is absolutely for sure, concrete, no matter when the Netchatef happens, no matter the day, the hour, or the moment, it will be when you and I do not expect it. Those are his words, and that much is concrete. So, like I said up front, my friends, I'm as excited and I'm as eager to go home as anyone can be. And I was real hopeful about Yom Teruah. It came, it went. But honestly, the day before Yom Teruah, the day of Yom Teruah, the day after Yom Teruah, as well as this very day, my heart, my attitude was exactly the same on any one of those points in time. I am always trusting in him, not in my so-called knowledge, not in my expectations, because if I'm expecting him to come, I know he's not gonna. He already told me that. I'm not gonna come when you expect me. Whenever it happens, it's gonna be when you didn't expect me. So I just always expect him, and then I know when he comes, it's going to be a moment where like, oh, geez, I wasn't expecting him just then. That's how it's going to be, and it's going to be so joyful and wonderful. I always say, I hope it happens before I finish this sentence. Oh, I finished the sentence. It didn't. Well, I hope it happens before I finish the next sentence. I'm always there, and I admonish you and I encourage you to always be there. This was his instruction. This is the way. And that's our study for this week, my friends. As always, I hope and I pray that this study is a big beracha to you and yours. Abba willing, I'll see you here next week. Until then, shalom, my friends.
Now 2,000 years have gone by, it's another working day. Some would rather let it lie, but the question still remains.